A weekend to remember in the NFL, a day to forget in Major League Baseball, and a season to remember for a former St. John Sea Dog. Plus, we're introducing a new segment. All that and more at Sports QuaranTV. What's up? Welcome to another episode of Sports QuaranTV. Chris Dobson, Gerry Green. We have got a wild one to talk about tonight, Gerry. We've got a lot of topics in a short period of time. Plus, we're bringing in a new segment this week, but we're going to start off the hop with the NFL. There's a lot to chat about, but we got to talk about the greatest game possibly in NFL history, the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs.
You know, Chris, at first I didn't think I had a dog in the fight, as they would say. I like Mahomes in Kansas City. They've, not crazy about some of the things about Kansas City, not crazy about Buffalo. I had a sense that I thought Buffalo was going to win. And my gosh, they should have and could have won, Chris. And that's what I want to talk to you about is this, of all the things that happened in the game, of when there was tremendous turning points and back and forth, especially in the fourth quarter where there was 28 points scored, 15 by Buffalo and 13 by KC. But these last 13 seconds, Chris, is for me what is up for debate here. Here, Buffalo comes back again, and Josh Allen scores again with 13 seconds left, and you see the sidelines of the Buffalo Bills jumping up and down. They're excited. They feel like they won. I'm sitting on my couch, Chris, and I'm thinking that they have won. Were you sitting there thinking with 13 seconds left, Buffalo has finally done it?
Everybody was thinking with 13 seconds left, Buffalo had finally done it. And, you look at how the whole situation played out. And again, it's a lot easy for me. It's easy for me to sit here and criticize from the comfort of my couch while I had a cold one in one hand and a bag of nachos in the other. But I don't understand, like when that final kickoff goes into play before Kansas City rushes down to tie the game up with the field goal. Look, if that's, it was going to Pringle. Hill wasn't even back there. You keep that ball in play.
You keep it in play.
You have to. You burn a couple seconds off the clock, Gerry. And, and that, anyways, terrible coaching decision in Buffalo. Ultimately, but that's not to take away from the excitement that was Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and how, the Chiefs came down to tie that game up. But that was Buffalo's game to lose. And ultimately, you could blame it on the head coach, blame it on the defensive coordinator for allowing them to march down the field with 13 seconds to go. So many people to blame.
Well, for 58 minutes, we enjoyed the splendor of the game. And in the last 2 minutes, you had so many lead changes. I mean, you had at 1:54, you had it 29-26 for Buffalo. Then Mahomes and them come back. They take the lead again. And then back down the field with 1:02 left, Buffalo's able to score with the 13 seconds. So let's talk about these 13 seconds, first of all. I think on the sidelines of the Buffalo Bills, we finally climbed Mount Everest. We're at the top. We've done it. Okay, well, let's kick off the ball. Let's get this over with. And they just kicked it off. I don't think they even thought about, the chance of maybe even you don't have to squib kick it. I don't like this word squib kick. Kick it as regular, but don't kick it in the end zone. Kick it high and deep. Let your guys get down to protect it and try to get some time run off the clock. It would have made a big difference. And then the other thing key here, Chris, was here's Mahomes starts at the 25. He's got 3 timeouts. Chris, he's got the whole field to work with, and he's smart, and he and Kelce have some chemistry. And it was stated that Kelce said to me, said to Mahomes, I'm going to get open, throw it to me. And don't they go 40 yards in whatever it was, 10 seconds, because they had time left, then to kick the field goal and send it into overtime.
Right. So the first pass that comes through goes through Hill. So Hill collects that first one. And you talked about the chemistry that was there. And we were chatting off camera before it started about they were mic'd up, and you can see the video. And Travis Kelce says, hey, this ball's going to go to Hill. Tells Hill, get behind me. I'm going to block you. Go. Second pass comes up. Travis Kelce says, I'm going to cut in. Then you can hear them chatting back and forth saying, yeah, absolutely. Do that. And then, of course, Travis Kelce gets wide open, untouched, right there in the middle of the field. It's mind-blowing to me, but it's so awesome, and it made for such an amazing finish to a football.
So here's the other part, Chris. So as I said about the coaching staff thinking that, well, geez, we got this wrapped up. Let's kill these 13 seconds. Let's go out and play some zone defense, and let's shut this down and be done with it. I think they still were kind of, a la Frizzle, the fact that there was only 13 seconds left, and they're that close to winning it. They play zone defense, and that left so many gaps for them to run down the field, especially with the 3 timeouts. Okay, Chris, Kansas City ties it. There's a flip of a coin of which the visiting team gets to make the call. And Josh Allen goes tails and loses the flip. How do you feel? And because you knew, to me, whoever was going to win the flip, the defenses had the defenses were worn out. They were worn out, and both offenses were just, clicking on all cylinders. Whoever was going to win that toss was going to win that game. Is that what you felt?
Oh, without a doubt. Both QBs were slinging, and I didn't think it was going to come down to a field goal. I thought as soon as Kansas City elected to receive that ball, they were going down, and that game was over to me. Do I like it? No, but don't forget, go back a couple years ago, Kansas City was the only team who voted to change the overtime rules, and they got ruled out, and that never changed. So bottom line is, it was a tough defeat. You feel for Buffalo Bills fans. It's just devastating to see, but overall, as a football fan, thank you to both those teams for giving us one of the greatest games in the history of the NFL. Jerry, we've got to go ahead quick.
Just great performances from Mahomes and Allen. You couldn't ask for more entertainment, not only with their arms, but both of them led their teams in rushing, which was amazing.
Got to talk Rams Bucks because that's the next one on our list. I mean, shocking. I went 1 for 4 in my predictions last week. This was one of the ones. I think this is the game you called. I think was this the one that you got right?
Look, I'm kind of warming up to Stafford a little bit, and it wasn't his fault. There was 4 fumbles by the Rams that allow Tampa Bay to come in, and a few of the fumbles were deep inside Tampa Bay or into Cincinnati territory, which gave short fields for Tom Brady to score and be able to come all the way back. But Chris, again, let's talk about the end of this. There was 30 seconds left when Brady and them scored to tie it. And what does Stafford do? Again, has time to work, finds open field, and who does he hit? But Cup, and that's the guy they should be double teaming. I don't get defensive coordinators on these.
Wide open. It's like 3 times that entire game they were just like, no, he's not going to throw it to Cup again. Like he's not going to do that. But overall, at what point did you think that Tom Brady was going to, I thought he was coming back. He was going to win that game. And I know that, we have a lot to talk about here, but we've only got 3 minutes left on this subject, Jerry. So we've got to get him in. We've got other things to talk about. But overall, it was a shock to me. That's the game. Good for you on calling it. I thought it was a shock.
Another game that comes down to the wire. All 3 of them did. Let's go to the San Francisco and Green Bay.
The biggest shock to me of the entire weekend was the Niners-Packers game. It was cold. It was snowing. Lambeau Field set up perfectly. The storyline was written for Green Bay to win this game, but great by Jimmy Garoppolo and the Niners to come on out here and play spoiler. I'm going to say it, play spoiler. That's what they did.
Okay, so here you had special teams a problem for Buffalo in regards to those last 13 seconds. Here you had the problem of special teams for Green Bay, which I guess have been a problem for them all season long. And the only touchdown San Francisco scores is by blocking a punt. And not only did they do that, they blocked the field goal late in the second half that would have been helpful for Green Bay as well. It looked like San Francisco is a punch-in-the-mouth type of defense, and they can grind it out on the ground. Maybe that was perfect for them, that weather. So I found that was very interesting.
No, I fully agree with you. And again, it's a bend, don't break. And I mean, yes, it wasn't a very high-scoring affair, but again, weather plays a factor in that. And good on San Fran to do it. I mean, after the handshake was over, you could see guys fired up, and Kittle looked great. Jimmy Garoppolo, by far the man, but Deebo Samuel, just an absolute stud. All right, we got to get into the one game that I wasn't super interested about, but good on Joe Burrow to make it happen. Bengals, Titans, gotta love a kicker.
Oh, Chris, I just can't get over the 9 sacks. I mean, right. The defense for Tennessee did their job. Of course, Tannehill wasn't great with the interceptions. That was the key problem here. Joe Burrow, yes, he had lots of yards, didn't throw for a touchdown pass. It was another tight game that comes down to a kicker, and it comes down to a turnover in the last minute of play. We were going to go to overtime, it seemed, but God bless the Tennessee defense. They couldn't have done much more.
So let's talk about the weekend coming. We don't want to get into it. I just want predictions at this point. I want to know who are your winners this weekend coming up.
Well, Kansas City's going to eat Cincinnati for lunch. I know they're a 7-point favorite going in. I see no letdown by the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, they played an emotionally tough competitive game against Buffalo, but they're near the finish line and getting to go to the Super Bowl for the third time in a row. So I don't see them letting up against Cincinnati at all.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to take Cincinnati in that game. I just think there's something fun happening there in Cincy. It's going to be a hell of a game.
Chris.
I'm going to take Cincy, but you got to remember, Cincy beat KC, I think it was week 16 or 17 of the season. So they're going to have, so KC's going to have a little ammunition. They're going to remember that. But I am going to take Cincinnati. And on the other side, I'll tell you right now, before you go, I'm taking the Rams.
No, I'm taking the Rams too. It's enough for the San Francisco. And if you remember, it was the Rams who let San Francisco into these playoffs.
Agreed.
Remember the final game of the regular season? Didn't the Rams lose to San Francisco for the third time in a row? And so that allowed them to get in the playoffs. So don't you think Dallas and Green Bay are pissed about that? Because San Francisco beat those two teams. But no, the Rams are a different team than they were in early January when they'd lost the last time to San Francisco. And you go back and look at that game, it was a mistake late in the game that allowed the Niners to beat the Rams. I think the Rams are ready to take them and get their spot in the Super Bowl.
You heard it, folks. You heard our picks. Can't wait to catch next week. We got to move on. We got to talk big news out of Major League Baseball. David Ortiz, the only member inducted into first ballot Hall of Famer into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame.
Okay,
in Cooperstown.
The debate becomes of the Bonds and the Clemens and the Schillings about not being liked and or that they were during the steroid era or they used steroids to enhance their performances. Okay, first of all, Schilling should be in the Hall of Fame. Curt Schilling has 216 wins. He's got a couple of World Series championships. He's been MVP. There's no reason he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, but that there's 397 members of the Baseball Writers Association has a pet peeve with him, and that shouldn't be something that would prevent somebody to make the Hall of Fame.
Look, it's no secret. I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. Do I love David Ortiz? Yes. Does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Yes. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that in an era of PEDs and steroid use, David Ortiz, who did test positive for PEDs, he got elected into the Hall of Fame strictly based off his personality. You're going to tell me that Barry Bonds, you're going to tell me that Roger Clemens, one of the greatest pitchers of all time, one of the greatest hitters of all time, and then Curt Schilling as well, another great pitcher, they're not making it into the Hall of Fame. This is ridiculous to me. Yes, were they on the Mitchell report? Yes, did they? Look, I'm not here to debate that. But in an aroid of PED use and steroids where they didn't break any rules, the fact that they're not in the Hall of Fame, and of course, this was their last year to be inducted, is an absolute travesty. It's an absolute joke. I think that Major League Baseball should be ashamed of themselves. And I understand it's not Major League Baseball, it's the writers, and I understand that.
Yeah.
Now, they will eventually get into the Hall of Fame, but they'll be voted in by somebody else. The sad reality is, Jerry, is that they'll probably be long gone by the time that happens. Mm-hmm. And that's, how the voting goes. And look, I'm not trying to take away from David Ortiz's accomplishments because I think it's amazing and I love it. And he deserves to be there. But ultimately, you can't tell me that Barry Bonds and that Roger Clemens and Curt Schilling, they do not belong in Cooperstown. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute embarrassment.
It is very sad, especially the Roger Clemens. And this is the thing about Major League Baseball. They were in a lull in the time of the steroid era, and the steroid era and the hitting of home runs brought baseball back into the scope of American being, and that there was more people going to the games all because of this. And they stood back and watched, and they knew. And these records are being set, and these players are being heroes for all the kids to watch and hitting home runs. And I think they're as much to blame as anybody, but it's not them that pays the price. It's the players.
Absolutely. And, the players came out on social media actually talking about it today, saying, look, I can move on with my life. Thank you for the support. Don't let this take away from David Ortiz's accomplishments. Like, they were so graceful about it, but ultimately it's an absolute joke. One other name that was on the ballot for the first time was A-Rod. He didn't obviously get voted in this year. It's, he's a 3-time MVP, but were you surprised that he didn't get more votes than he had?
No, there was too much going on there, Chris. He'll get his opportunity. And I don't think, I think he has a better opportunity now that all the so-called stuff has hit the fan about all this and why those guys didn't get in. He'll get his opportunity.
So now from baseball, let's move on. I want to talk about the NHL because big news coming out of Florida. Of course, former St. John Sea Dogs captain Jonathan Huberdeau, second league scoring right now, absolutely torching it up in Florida right now. Are you surprised by this? Looks like he's heading to the All-Star game. What a great story. You've got to be happy for him.
You know me, I like to do my research, and my research told me this. Huberdeau was taken third overall in 2011 behind Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Gabriel Landeskog from Colorado. Landeskog, rather. He has more points than both of those guys right now. He has more points than anybody in that first round in 2011 after that draft. And he has 556 points, Chris, in 634 games. That spells consistency to me, and he's put it all together on a good team this year in Florida.
And don't forget, he is doing this right now while Alexander Barkov is out of the lineup. It's really given him a chance to shine and kind of thrive out a bit. Yeah, we watched him for years here in the QMJHL, and I know he's been in the National Hockey League for many, many years. And as a Habs fan, there's always a part of me that every year I'm like, maybe they'll find a way to get Jonathan Huberdeau back in Quebec. He's been an absolute talent and an absolute treat to watch down in Florida. And I love watching former guys. And again, I'm a little biased. I'm a little selfish, but I love watching guys that we used to talk about and we used to broadcast up here in the QMJHL having such great success. And again, now heading into the All-Star game, I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And big news coming out of Vancouver. They've hired the first Swedish general manager in Patrick Alvin, and also hired the second woman to be an executive on an NHL team in Emily Castonguay. And the research tells me that Angela Gagosian was the first female assistant general manager in Anaheim in 1996. So we tip our hats to Vancouver for being contemporary, if you will, and going outside the box and hiring people from outside.
I absolutely love both these hirings. Emily Castonguay is a great fit there in Vancouver. In fact, she was rumored to be part of possibly the Montreal Canadiens organization as well. I love seeing women in sports start to take over these authoritative roles. But overall, you look at Patrick Alvin and where he came from. I mean, he came from the Pittsburgh Penguins organization as well. And this is a great fit. I mean, they've been looking for a GM after they, when they just went through everything they went through. And I think they were kind of playing catch up because the question is who was going to find a GM first? Was it going to be Montreal? Was it going to be Vancouver? And then Marc Bergevin somehow ends up in Los Angeles. And then, Jeff Gorton makes his hire in Montreal, and then boom, Patrick Alvin's available in Vancouver.
Emily was an agent too. You know who she's an agent for? Alexis Lafreniere. So they're looking outside, and maybe Montreal started it. Agents could become general managers.
I think, and honestly, don't look now because even Edmonton's starting to turn things around a little bit, Jerry. And I'm very pleased they've won a couple games in a row. Hey, you know what? Crazy things are starting to happen out west. Love it. Great job by Vancouver. Kudos to the Oilers for, starting to win things around. But yeah, overall, that's it, man. I love it. Jerry, we're going to introduce something new this week, a new segment to the show. If you would, we're going to call it Debate This. And sticking with the NFL because it's such a big weekend, we're going to start right off the hop. Topic number one. Will Tom Brady retire?
That is a good question, Chris. I'm going to take the side of, yeah, he might. I know he's 45. He said he wants to play another year. He loves to play, but, I don't think the taste of losing against the Rams on Sunday went over real well with him. And whether or not, Tampa's going to bring in the players that are going to be necessary to have around him for him to be successful next year. And would he be thinking of possibly having to go to another team at 45? I know he can be a valuable asset to somebody at 45, but it might be the time that Tom says after a summer of reflection that maybe when training comes in the fall that he's not going to go.
The best part of debate this is that I can come over the top and say, absolutely not, Jerry. There is no way Tom Brady's retiring. He made it very clear physically he's never felt better than he ever has. He is a fierce competitor. He wants to win at all costs. He's extremely disappointed the Bucs didn't get it done this year. He said he wants to play till he's 45. You said he's 45. He's actually 44, and he's still got an extra year left on his deal. So this is all going to fit into play. Now, the question is, will he stay in Tampa? He'd be foolish not to. That's where all the old people go to retire. You go down to Tampa, you go down to Florida. That's where
white shoes,
handsome lad. There is a 0% chance Tom Brady is hanging up the cleats. No way, no ifs, no hands. He will be in the NFL next year. One more year under his contract. He's going to get it done. Topic number two. and this one's going to be a doozy. I can't wait for this. Aaron Rodgers, will he play somewhere else next year, or will he even play football next year?
He's going to play next year, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think it's to be true. I think he's staying in Green Bay.
Of course you do.
I think he has said he thinks there was a lot of fans or influences or karma against his team because of his stance regarding COVID and being vaccinated. I don't know if he's going to be welcome anywhere else. I think this year he's discovered that he can get along with the coach. I think the front office is committed to making sure he has the right tools around him. And I think he's resolved that he's comfortable playing in Green Bay. Now, what he's got to do is play a little bit better for them to want to keep him, because he's had a rough playoff. If you go through his record, he's 11-10 in the playoffs, and that's not a great record. But I can see him staying in Green Bay because I think he this year was an eye-opener for him on what he could accomplish there and the attitude that has changed within the front office and his teammates.
Well, I have absolutely no problem arguing with you on this topic, but at the same time, I'm actually going to go against Eli Manning here as well, because he sided with you this week too. I am going to say no chance. I think Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams. There's an interesting financial situation taking place in Green Bay right now. You know, do I think he should? I think he should, because it's heartbreaking to see somebody like that, a franchise QB, go somewhere else. I think he's going to pull a Brett Favre, and I think he's going to go somewhere else without the retiring 7 times. But I do believe if you look at possible options and outcomes for him, and I'm not saying this as a homer, I'm not saying this as a fan, there's a lot of options out there. But if I'm Indianapolis right now, I am picking up the phone and figuring out what it's going to take to acquire not even just Aaron Rodgers. The hell with that. Go get Davante Adams too, because they've got $42 million in cap space available. Green Bay does not have that kind of money available. Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay made it very clear that Indy is going to do something dramatic. They will win at all costs. They're upset with the way the season ended, and they've got $42 million available. What a great fit to see number 12. Although the question will be is when, not even if, when Aaron Rodgers goes to Indianapolis, will they let him wear number 12? Or are they going to say, no, that was Andrew Luck's number, you can't have that? So overall, that's my thought process. I think there's no way he stays in Green Bay. You know what, Jerry? That's it. It's over. You say yes, I say no. I love to debate this thing. I've had a great time. That being said, it's time to roll into the favorite part of the show moving forward. It's time for the wrap, Jerry. We're going to close this thing out with a banger. And the first topic we're hitting up, of course, is the fiasco that was the Tampa Bay Rays and the Montreal Expos.
How can the Major League Baseball sit back now and say, yeah, we've changed our mind about splitting the schedule between the two? And the two owners, one in Tampa Bay and the Brofmans in Montreal, have been very cordial about the whole thing. But now Major League Baseball has decided, no, we're not going to allow that to happen. And with very little notice to the Montreal side of this equation. And that's really heartbreaking. That really, really does bother me. Keith Yandel, who's a former Moncton Wildcat, Chris, is now in the record books in the NHL.
965 consecutive games. A new Ironman streak holder overtakes Doug Jarvis in that the game they played against the Islanders. Absolutely love to see it. You know, congratulations to Keith. His name has been thrown around a lot of speculation with all the fiasco that took place even with Florida. I felt they did him dirty. Ends up, takes this big pay cut to go to Philadelphia. And hey, look, now he's the Ironman holder and what's going on there. Jerry, give me an update on the Women's Curling Championship. Sounds like they're going to go ahead.
You know I love curling. The Scotties Tournament is hard. It's taking place in Thunder Bay. It starts this week and continues until next weekend. But interesting notes. Jennifer Jones isn't going to be there. She's at the Olympics. And also Rachel Holman's rink is going to be there, but she won't be playing. Emma Miskew is going to move up and play third, and they picked up a second player. But I love women's curling. It's all week from Thunder Bay. They're not going to have fans at first, but then they might come in later in the week. What about Sean Payton in the NFL, Chris? Is he not going to coach anymore?
Well, after 15 seasons, he is stepping away, and they made sure to use the word stepping away. I mean, at the end of the day, you try to figure out whether it's a retirement, whether it's not a retirement. Yes, he's going to retire. It looks that way from the New Orleans Saints. Although there's rumors, there's a lot of speculation about what's taking place behind the scenes. I think he'll take a year off. He's going to end up probably coming back to coach the Cowboys. It wouldn't shock me in the least, but who knows? But either way, as of right now, after 15 years, Sean Payton is calling her quits for now. What's going on? Some big updates Canadian-wise in the Australian Open, Jared.
My goodness. Sharapov fell to Nadal and then got controversial. And even pardon the interruption, mentioned about him being that there was a conspiracy against the lesser players, against the not as bright players. The Nadal's is the superstar. They get a little extra edge. But today, or this week, Medvedev was down 2 sets to Auger-Aliassime and came back and won the final 3 sets to send both Canadians out of the quarterfinals. It was very exciting. Those young players are going to make Canada proud if they haven't already. It was exciting at the Aussie Open. What about Jake Batherson? He was supposed to go to the All-Star game, Chris.
Absolutely devastating news. You got to feel for Drake Batherson. Would have been his first All-Star game. Aaron Dell, just an absolute bonehead play. Not his first one, but if he's not careful, Aaron Dell is going to get his bell rung, because ultimately, and an hour before we started to record this, the league came down. The NHL Department of Player Safety has given him a 3-game suspension. Rare you see a goaltender suspension, but well-deserved. The reports came out. It's a high ankle sprain on Drake Batherson. He is going to be out long-term, and you just hate to see it, because the Ottawa Senators they rely on him heavy. Captain Brady Tkachuk made it very clear he was unhappy with it, but the NHL handled it. Bottom line is, get better soon, Drake. They're going to miss you at the All-Star game. On a sad note, Jerry, the world lost another great athlete this week.
Yeah, Clark Gillies. Clark Gillies slides under the radar, but a Hall of Famer, played on the big line with Trottier and Bossy through the dynasties of the New York Islanders, which is right in my wheelhouse. He was one of those first power forwards, and then they always said, don't wake up Clark, because you're asking for trouble. And he was a big part of that line. He was that third ingredient, that big, strong winger up and down and into the corners to help out Gillies and Trottier. He passed away this week. Also this week, sad news, 2 years ago, Chris, give us an update.
As we show right here, the great late Kobe Bryant, 2 years anniversary of the passing of him, his daughter, and a lot of other members who were in that helicopter crash. It's a sad moment, obviously, for me, of course, and a lot of other people out there. Kobe, probably my favorite athlete of all time. But in honor of their memory, there was a statue erected at the crash site for both Kobe and the families that were there, and I think that's absolutely amazing. Can't believe it's been 2 years already. But overall, rest in power, guys. It's you hate reading these things, but the legacy will live on forever. Well, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. We've had a great time doing this. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Thursday.